What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is Season 7, Episode 2. The episode is titled Tickle My Pickle. Let's jump right on in. In typical Ready to Love fashion, you already know that we're going to have a brunch. And the first couple that I see kind of connecting is Demario and Carvana. So clearly they had a connection from the last episode when they were talking about fashion and how he has his own place. So, of course, this is just like a mixer, so there's a bunch of random conversations happening. At one point, we saw Marcia. She was talking to Blue. We learned that he has a cat, and at one point, he had a monkey. I'm like, oh, so you just like Michael Jackson. Okay. So, Tommy ends up showing up, right? And we already know, in typical Ready to Love fashion, when he shows up, he's expecting for everybody to be cheering and clapping for him when he hits the door. Baby, I feel like this cast of Miami, they don't know that yet. So he has to kind of hype them up and be like, come on, give it to me, or whatever he be saying. And it's just like, I don't think they got the hint that they need to hype you up yet, sir. So Tommy lets us know that he's throwing a curveball already, and instead of two people going home or them sending someone home after the brunch, because that has usually happened on, I feel like, almost every season of Ready to Love. Someone usually goes home after the brunch. Oh no, baby. We're bringing in not just two new people, because usually they bring in like a guy and a girl. They're bringing in 4 new people, so now there's going to be a total of 18 people. So we first meet Cynthia and Jonica, and then he also brings out Fabrice and Mark Anthony. So we shall see how this is going to shake up the dynamics of what is going on Ready to Love. We also learn that the men have the power this week, so one lady will be going home. Now, y'all, the one thing that has distracted me this entire time, though, is Andre's hair. What we not gonna do is take the back of that mohawk, put it into a baby bun, and still have that little tendril hanging. He's got to be stopped. He needs to be sent home right now. If the ladies are actually looking at this man and finding that attractive, it's something wrong with all of them. Andre will be the first one to go for me. That look is an absolute no. So we actually learned a little bit more about one of the ladies that showed up. Actually, I've been saying her name wrong. It's Jonique. She is 30 years old. Y'all, does she look 30 to y'all? Because to me, we can add some years on that. I'm not even trying to be funny. She do not look like she's 30 years old, number one. And number two, she's giving like Instagram body, like BBL. Like, she might not have had one, but she's serving body yaddy. And I feel like she probably is the curviest woman that we got this season. Now, the first person who she talks to is Lyndon, and honestly, I didn't even mind that because at least he's only like 2 years older than her, something like that. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And then we also see Mark Anthony, who is 34 years old. I must say he is attractive, and he has a conversation with Corvea. Now, in this conversation, she's trying to figure out, like, is he going to spoil her if they're dating or whatever? And he's like, to be spoiled, that's something that's earned, you know what I mean? And she basically just wants the finer things in life. So that actually brings me back to her conversation from last week about how she has to have a man who has his own place and her shoes are expensive and all this thing. Girl, you want to show your daddy. I don't understand why you even came on this show. If you want to be wine and dine and, see all the finer things in life, sure, a lot of people want to have nice things and everyone wants to be spoiled every now and then. But the fact that that's the first thing on your mind is how someone can take care of you. Like, I don't know if this is the show for you. Like, we have watched this show season after season, and these do not be the type of men to really just want to take care of these women. Let's be honest. These are some split the bills type men. But nonetheless, we then see Z. Z is over here making her rounds to ask every guy why she almost got sent home and all this stuff. And it is rubbing the guys the wrong way. I'm like, Z, you just should have took it on the chin, came in, good attitude, show the guys who you really are, instead of consistently badgering them about, so who said I should go home? Why'd y'all say I needed to go home? Like, they don't want to hear that. They just don't. You're putting a bad taste in their mouth. Alright, so then we happen to see Andre and Jeffrey. They start having a conversation, and we already know they made a connection last episode. I don't know how she is looking at this man with a straight face, and his hair is like that. Like, y'all really didn't pull him to the side and say, so that's the hairstyle you decided to wear? I'm sorry, it's distracting. So next thing you know, Cynthia comes up. She's one of the newbies. She's 37 years old, and now she wants to get in on a conversation because, of course, when you're new, you don't know who has previously been talking. You just want to see what's going on. So we actually learned that she's a mother, and we also learned that she's Haitian. I said, okay, cool. So she's trying to have this conversation, get to know Andre, whatever. But why in the confessional, Jeffrey is over talking about how, oh, these girls are thirsty? Girl, it is day 2. Everybody's supposed to get to know each other. What are you talking about? While he's sitting up here talking to her, you need to go ahead, excuse yourself, find somebody else to talk to, get to know somebody else. Like, I feel like she's already staking claim on Andre, and I'm like, well, we'll see how that actually works out for you. Alright, so we actually see Fabrice. He is having a conversation with Cynthia, and we learn that he is 44 years old and he is a fashion designer. I thought we were going to find out that he was like a chef or something. I have no idea why I thought he was a chef, but yeah, he's a fashion designer. Now, we will see how long he lasts, because the conversations that he was having with the ladies, it was a lot of sexual talk. So we'll see if the ladies are biting it or if they don't want it at all. Alright, y'all, they are really trying to switch it up this season, because now we have this date where there is 6 guys and there is 2 women. Now, this is a date for all the guys to get to know the 2 new ladies. I'm just like, okay, I see what you're trying to do here, Ready to Love. I mean, I will say that I'm ready for some solo dates, but let's jump right into this. So, Cynthia arrives. She looks really good. Like, I really did like her outfit, and the guys get straight to the questions. And one of the questions happened to be like, what was her deal breaker? And she's like, a cheater. She was very straightforward with that answer. Clearly, she has been cheated on before, and she's not one to tolerate it. Baby, you cheat on her, she ain't taking you back. So Tony ends up asking her, like, what's her type? What's her preference? Whatever. And she tells him, listen, I don't have a type, because the older you get, you realize that you can't just go by what somebody looks like on the surface. You actually have to get to know somebody. And I'm just like, she's actually being pretty honest. I feel like she's being truthful. So I think I might like Cynthia. So next thing you know, Jonique is showing up, and she already sees that, you know, they already have a vibe here. The guys are there, Cynthia's there, and she would have appreciated if she would have probably gotten there at the same time as Cynthia, because, I don't know, I feel like she felt like she was coming in after they've already established something. So I absolutely understand where she's coming from. Like, when you are like the last person to show up somewhere, especially on this show, you do kind of get like secondhand treatment. But let me just go ahead and tell y'all about her. I think I like her because I feel like she is really being authentically herself. She is not putting on a fake voice. She is not changing the way she is. The way she is answering these questions, I'm here for her. Like, when they asked her, like, what her type is or whatever, and then she was like, as long as her man look good to her, it don't matter. You know, you may have dated somebody who's ugly, but they got some cute qualities. Like, she was funny to me, and I think she was being honestly herself. Because when I think of like some of the other ladies, for example, Jeffrey, I feel like Jeffrey has to be put on a fake voice. You cannot tell me that's how she really talks. But nonetheless, let me get back to this date. Now, y'all, I am so confused by Andre because he asked if these ladies can handle an alpha male. So Cynthia's like, yeah, I can handle alpha male, and yes, I can be submissive. Now, at some points in my life, I had to be like an alpha female because I was a single woman with children. But does it look like I want to wear the boxers in this relationship? No, I want to wear the panties. I can be submissive. Now, in his confessional, though, Andre is like, yeah, at first I wasn't really sure about her, but now I think that I like her. Oh, because she said that she could be submissive? Because you say that you're an alpha male? Because honestly, nothing that she said was wrong. Even in all the previous questions that was asked of her. Like, I don't know. It's something about Andre, y'all. I'm not here for him. I'm not. I'm just not. Now, going back to what Jonique said earlier about how she wished that she basically would have got there when Cynthia got there, we only saw her answer one question, y'all. Yeah. Okay. Let's see how long she lasts. Is that like a sign? What's happening here? But at the end of the day, we happen to see that Tony and Blake actually walked her to her car. And I'm just like, that's pretty interesting because she is, what did I say? She was like 30 years old. And they are both in their 40s. I'm just like, where is the young man? Where are the youngins that can walk her to her car? So then we also see that Cynthia is walking with Andre. And I'm just like, is it me? Or is Andre getting way too much camera time? I feel like we see Andre way too much with this tacky hairstyle. Alright, y'all. So we finally get to a solo date. And it is Tony and Marcia. Y'all, I did not like Marcia's outfit. I hated those pants. They just did not look good to me. Nonetheless, they're on this date. And they are really vibing. Like, we did learn a little bit more about Marcia. She actually was like a problem child, but she, had a lot of people pour into her, and I guess she turned things around. So she's like, whenever I see like a troubled kid, it's just that, they need someone to pour into them. And one thing that I did like was that Tony, he prayed over the food, and they had like a really good vibe. Like, they are definitely going to go on another date. Now, let's go over to Z and Blake. Baby, this was a disaster. And not in like the typical way that we've seen disasters happen, but I just feel bad for Z. I feel like this is not the show for her. And I also feel like maybe she hasn't really dated before. Because there was nothing about her and Blake's conversation that gave off these were people who were going to possibly date. Like, I feel like he asked, like, oh, what makes you you? And she was basically, like, telling him about, like, her family and all this stuff that he didn't really want to hear about. Now, one thing that I will say is that, yes, Z is awkward. But at the same time, like, their conversation never flowed. So I wish that she kind of would have asked him some questions as well. And then maybe that could have triggered a conversation. I don't know. But either way, I was like, Z, you gonna be on a chopping block again. So now it is the ladies' turn to have their date with the two new guys or whatever. And they first started talking about how, I think Mark Anthony and Morgan, was that her name? No, not Mercedes. One of the girls, she only dated Haitian men. So then that brings up the question, have you dated outside your race? Now, Mark Anthony says that yes, he has dated outside his race, but his preference is black women. And I'm just like, yeah, you have to say that because you're on a show about dating black women. We'll see. We'll see if there's anything that comes out about him and who he's dated in the past. But then he goes on to compare it to a menu and how he wants the special, and the special is black women. I was like, okay, if that was the analogy that you wanted to use. Now, here we go with Fabrice. And we already know that he about to have his sexual talk or whatever. But when he mentioned that he had lived in Paris, baby, that's when Corvana, she was like, oh yeah, sign me up. Because next thing you know, she's like, oh, you need somebody young. And I'm just like, wow, Carvana. So you gonna get with Fabrice because he can take you on trips to Paris? Is that what we doing, girl? Okay. Now, we already know that Jeffrey is turned off completely by this man. She ain't checking for him. Sue-Ann, on the other hand, she is checking for him because she's realized that the older she gets, the better she is in bed. So I think she might give him a try. I think they might date, or at least go on a date. And then we also have Mercedes, who's showing some interest in Fabrice because he can speak in another language. Yep, that was it. That was why. Now, Marcia has picked up the fact that Fabrice keeps bringing up all this sexual stuff. She's like, listen, you are a man of a certain age. What are you doing? I mean, it does give me like young teenager vibes. But then again, I'm like, he's from another country. Maybe they work out a little bit different. Maybe things in Paris are a whole lot of different than what goes down in the U.S. So now we have this conversation about how Mark Anthony, he's actually in school to be a pilot. And I'm like, that's pretty cool because he actually has like a medical background. So I think that's pretty dope. Now, Carvana wants to know how long school is because, of course, she's like, well, how long is it going to take you to make this money of a pilot so that you can spend the money on me? That's her thought process. But then you have him kind of have a connection with Mercedes because you already know she's a flight attendant. He's trying to be a pilot. There's a connection there. All right, y'all, it's time to head to the men's lounge. Now, why we didn't turn the church into the bar, I don't know. But that is what we're walking into. All right, so first things first, of course, Tommy asked about the group dates, and everybody liked the new people that they met. All right, cool. So far, the guys are definitely feeling Mercedes. Everyone seemed to have good things to say about her. They are also feeling Morgan. And Tony, he's a little conflicted because he really likes Morgan. And since he went on that date with Marcia, he's really feeling her too. And I'm just like, well, that's the best thing about this process is that you can keep dating both of them until you figure out who's best for you. Now, Blake mentioned Sue-Ann, and I feel like we have not really seen her in this season so far, or am I crazy? Like, I really feel like we hardly see her. Blue mentioned that he's feeling Jeffrey. DeMario says he's feeling her too, and I'm like, well, what about Carvana? Because that's who you seem to be feeling to me. And then here goes Andre talking about Jeffrey and how that's a wife. That's someone who you would marry. And I'm just like, all right, so if you feel so deeply about her, then don't try to entertain nobody else. Focus on her. Okay, we'll see how long you are playing the field. Because, of course, he mentions how he likes Cynthia now. So we'll see where this goes. Now we got to talk about who we're not feeling. And Andre says that he is not feeling Carvana. And neither is Tony. So, the new guy, Mark Anthony, he says that he wasn't feeling Jonique, and that was because he just had like a better connection with everybody else. And I'm just like, yeah, but at the same time, I feel like y'all briefly met, and then you got to go on like that date with everybody else. So maybe there's a chance that they can have a different conversation later on. And then we get to Fabrice. He ain't feeling Jeffrey because baby, she ain't feeling him. But he said that she was too conservative. And then after that, all the guys pretty much said that they did not like Z. They said she gives off homegirl vibes. There just wasn't any connection. And then Blake talks about his date with her and how it felt like an interrogation. And I'm just like, yeah, because you kept asking the question and baby, she was not really trying to give you anything. All right, y'all. Now, this is where Ready to Love is switching it up yet again. So now we have the lifeline, where basically another, if there's someone who is up for elimination that you really feel like shouldn't go home, then you can actually use this lifeline. And that means that nobody goes home that week. But it has to be a unanimous decision that everyone is supporting that this person gets to stay. And I think they can only use it one time or something like that. I'm like, all right, cool. We will really see how this works out. Because I feel like this season is going to get juicy. And that might be a real interesting thing that they added. Now, of course, let's go ahead and get to the eliminations. So we see Lyndon, he takes out Carvana. And we also see Blake takes out Z again. So these two should already know that they're on the chopping block because Z knows that date was bad with Blake, and Carvana, she do not see it for Lyndon. So when it came down to it, Lyndon lets Carvana know that she's still ready to love, but maybe instead of her, saying what she wants in a man, maybe she should say, I would like it if a man can do this or that for me. It's all in the words that you use. And I actually like the fact that Lyndon tried to, give her a little bit of advice. Now, on the other hand, with Z and Blake, it was still awkward. So even on this date, or whatever you want to call it, like, it was really awkward. And of course, Z got sent home. One thing that I will say is, why was she singing in her final words? I said, girl, nobody told you to sing. What are you doing? But that was the episode, y'all. Let me know what y'all thought about it. Who do y'all think is going to stick around for the long haul? Who should go home? Y'all already know I feel like Andre should go home for the hairstyle alone. And yeah, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And I'll talk to y'all on the next one. Bye, guys.